I think one good thing when dealing with something in a relationship that you really want but you're not getting for yourself is to check your expectations. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's Q&A video. Yeah, why can't I ever just do normal person intros? I always see YouTubers open videos and they're so casual, like they don't even say hi guys, they're just like, so I was looking at blah blah blah, and they just like start, and I'm like, this is normal, why can't I do that? Maybe one day you'll show up on my channel and you'll be like, oh, I'm just like, so anyways, just casually talking. Anyways, I'm here to do a Q&A. So let me explain a little bit really quickly before I hop right in. These questions, I wasn't planning on filming a video. I was actually planning on doing like an Instagram Q&A, you know, where you can like ask people questions and then you can like share the answer in your Instagram. And I ended up not getting around to it that night because there was a lot happening. The last like week or so has been weird. It hasn't really been crazy. Like everything's been pretty chill in general for me the last couple months, in the sense that like I can't really do anything. Like it hasn't been chill, right? My knee's healing up and that's really been my focus, but it's been chill in the sense that like I just haven't been very busy because I've been at home healing. Also, before we hop right in, I want to give a special shout out to my Patreon. If you haven't checked out my Patreon, I upload exclusive content over there. And after this video, I'm uploading a part 2 to my Patreon. So if you want to see more Q&A, you can go over and check that out down below. And thank you so much to everyone that's come over to my Patreon. So someone asked me, the Stace of Spades said, how are you doing? Like really? And the short answer to that is that I'm doing very well. That like the longer I've been in Idaho, the longer I've been in this house, just the more settled and grounded and like myself I've felt again. Now, obviously the last couple of months, the knee injury has thrown a wrench into some things. And I mentioned in my last Q&A, which I did last month, which in my mind, I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll do one of these once a month because it had been a few weeks. I wanted to do it again. And I'm like, oh, it's been a month. Like once a month feels appropriate. But in my last Q&A, I mentioned that we were holding off on trying to conceive another baby until my knee healed up. And that's really been like my main focus, is just really showing up and doing physical therapy basically every single day, multiple times a day. Actually, my great grandma has had an injury recently in her back that's actually been, it's very serious. And she's been having to do physical therapy like 3 times a day. And I was talking to her on the phone. When I found out she was doing physical therapy 3 times a day, that turned into like the mantra around the house. Like anytime I didn't want to do PT, I always try to get people to pump me up. Like I'll do it myself. Like I'll get up and I'll be like, okay, I got to do PT. But then I like make everyone pump me up. I'm like, cheer me on, say you can do it, mama. And everyone's like cheering me on. And I added that to the phrase too. Like if great grandma can do it 3 times a day, you can do it 1 to 2 times a day. So my grandma is okay, by the way. She's actually back at home now and my dad's in Arizona visiting her. But yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing my exercises. I'm getting better every single day. I've been eating good food, working on my cookbook, which is still really crazy. So I've been making lots of different things, experimenting with things, bringing in treats to like my physical therapy appointments, because that's pretty much all I've been doing. I've seen people, if they come visit me, which I've had a few friends drop by and visit, and that's basically it. Like physical therapy, the orthopedic doctor, friends that have visited, and that's it. I haven't really done anything because since my leg is still so weak, it feels very scary to go out on it. Like I can't hold myself up super great, at least not great enough to feel comfortable being like out and about. And then adding in the element of the snow and the cold and Logan, depending on the situation, it's just led me to not want to go out very often. Someone said, how many times did you fail at baking sourdough before you got it right? LOL, love you. So love you too. I messed up a lot. It took me many times. To be honest, I had to be around sourdough. Like Dan was making the sourdough in our home, all of it, for like a year before I ever even really attempted, because I was so confused. I was overwhelmed. I would kind of help him, but he was really the one spearheading it. And then once I had been exposed to it for about a year, and then we ended up moving, so sourdough obviously stopped. Once it was time to get back onto doing it again, I had not done it for a while, but I had seen it enough to where I was like, I'm going to do it. And actually, those of you that follow all my Q&As know this already. I started sourdough the week that I miscarried. I had my miscarriage on a Sunday. It was like a weekend event. And on Sunday, I like officially had the miscarriage and I passed the baby and something like snapped in me. And all of a sudden I was like, dude, I'm not having bread anymore unless it's sourdough. Like I totally changed my whole health game around that week entirely because my health had been not in tip-top shape anyways by any means for the previous little while. Honestly, since moving here and getting set up in the house, it had just been off. And when I miscarried, I was like, I got to get back on my health game. Like this is not how I should be living. And I obviously don't feel like I caused my miscarriage, but I do think that health is a very important factor when you're carrying a child. And so that was one of the first things I changed. And when I got onto my sourdough game that week, I pretty much like nailed it right from the beginning. So it was like a year of intimidation and mess ups and not wanting to try. And ever since that point though, it's like I kind of don't ever mess it up. No like offense or no like bragging. That's the better way to put it. But like I get it now. And so everybody that wants to get into sourdough, I always say the same thing. I'm like, just keep going. Even if you mess up, even if you don't get it, like you eventually get it. I have a friend that I taught how to do sourdough. She lives close by and she went through like 3 starters before she just kept killing them. And then she finally got it. And now she's like bread baker. So, that's that. Someone else, I mean, I know someone always asks us updates on another baby. She said, by the way, love you too. Whatever you say, I always feel weird saying love you because you're not actually sitting here. It's just a camera lens, but I'm sending love. And yeah, the update is we still have not started trying. We're not going to start trying until my knee is healed a little bit more. I'm thinking we're going to start trying next month. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't need to be 100 in my knee, but I need to feel confident, especially because if God blesses us with another baby, there's a good chance, although I'm really hoping that's not going to be the case because I've changed some health things, but there's a good chance I'm going to be nauseous. And so the thought of just going from like barely hobbling around to getting nauseous, if God gives us another baby, sounds not fun. And I just need my knee to be more stable. So hopefully soon. I have major baby fever. And like all of my friends, I feel like are either having babies or are pregnant or just had a baby. And it's very weird to feel this overwhelming sense of joy for them. Like, wow, new life. And like, you know, knowing that they wanted their babies so badly, but then also feeling this sense of just like longing for a baby and sadness over the miscarriage. A little bit of disbelief still, honestly, over the miscarriage sometimes. But yeah. Okay. So next question. I know my husband loves me, but he is not romantic in any way. And I crave some romance. Help. First off, I think a lot of guys are not necessarily inclined towards romance in the way that a woman might mean it or want it when she says that she wants romance. And I have 2 different thoughts around here, and they're married, much like you and your husband. The first thought has to do with you and the second has to do with him. So for you, I think one good thing when dealing with something in a relationship that you really want but you're not getting for yourself is to check your expectations. So you said with confidence that you know your husband loves you. And so the first thing I would say is, like I said, for yourself, to really start romanticizing the things that your husband does do for you. So like, is he just taking out the trash all the time and you never have to ask and he just does it? And like, if he wasn't there, you would have to do it. It's like, wow, that's so romantic that you've taken out the trash. But it's like, wow, you're doing that for us. Like, thank you. You know, is he just working really hard at his job? There is an element of romance. And like I said, backing up, I know that's not what you mean, but we're starting with this half of the equation just because that's what we can control, right? Ourselves to a degree. But I would evaluate your expectations and romanticize the things that he does do. Now, the second thing I would say is looking at yourself for how much romance you're bringing to the relationship. Now, I know that maybe sounds weird, and maybe you are bringing a lot of romance to your relationship. Like maybe, you are doing special fun things. And I know this sounds weird because you want them done for you, but I do think that is one thing to think about. Like guys don't often get a lot of romance directed at them. And sometimes there's just this element in general of like, you're going to get back what you give out to someone in a relationship sometimes. So it's also worth looking at like, are there romantic special things that I could do for him, and really turn that around to focusing on him and how you can serve him in your marriage and like make romantic moments. So that's my first thought in regards to you. Now, in regards to your husband, it's kind of twofold. One, you can't make anybody else change, like ever. They have to want to change for themselves, obviously. But on the other hand, it's like you're married to him for life. He's it. You're stuck, for lack of a better phrase. Not literally, but like he's who you have chosen. And so I do think at the same time, you have every right to tell him, or to have a conversation, that's a better way to word it, to have a conversation and be honest with how you're feeling about elements of your marriage. Now, this can easily turn into like just constant whining. Like, we don't want to be naggy. Ugh, I don't like that phrase, but we don't want to be like constantly like pounding in on the stuff that we wish was, different, or we want him to change. But I think some women don't ever bring those things up. I think some women, it's like too much criticism, too much, this is what I want different. I think some women don't ever say anything. And I think that's weird too, because if you're not honest with the person that you're going to be spending your whole life with, I think that sometimes it's like you can accidentally like kill your soul. Not really. I don't know how to word this, but like you're hurting yourself. You're carrying a burden that you maybe don't need to carry, that may eventually cause you to explode if you don't just have these conversations. Now, I will give you a conversational tip that my old therapist gave us. She would still be my therapist, except she's retired now. Anyways, and that was something called 3 minutes. And she really feels like this should be like an all the time implemented thing in a relationship. And I kind of wish it was. We just kind of fall off the bandwagon sometimes, and then we get back on and then we fall off. Basically what it is it is a 3-minute monologue that each partner can give to the other person once a day. So you alternate. So like today is my 3 minutes day, and I'm going to set the timer, and for 3 minutes I have to talk about my feelings, or whoever's turn it is. And there's no like specific order for those feelings. So it could be like, in this case, hey, I've been feeling this way for a while, and I haven't known how to bring it up to you, that like, I wish there was more spark and romance in our relationship, and I'm craving romance from you. So whether it's that, or whether it's, maybe there's a different situation, or you're feeling a different way on a different day, like, wow, I love you so much, and I've been thinking a lot about how appreciative I am of you, and whatever feelings are happening in your mind. And it's meant for both parties. And the reason that she does it in this 3-minute format, and kind of what the point is sometimes she said women can just go on and on and on and on, or do it too much, like too much bringing things up. And sometimes men feel a pressure to like talk about their feelings, but they don't know how, or they don't know when, or they feel like they maybe don't have enough stuff to say. So by locking it in 3 minutes, you're keeping the expectation low for him when it's his turn. And maybe his 3 minutes is just telling you, expressing how much he loves you, or something you've done to hurt him, or a dream he's been having these dreams lately about something, like whatever. It's just a feelings centered 3 minutes, where if he has a hard time finding his feelings, he has to really reach for words, but only for 3 minutes. It's like, it's just 3 minutes, and then you don't have to go on. And if you're wanting to bring something up, but maybe you've nagged a bunch in the past, or you feel like you've just said it too many times, 3 minutes is really beautiful for that as well, because you know that you are confined to 3 minutes. You aren't going to feel like you're, just going on and on and on. And it comes to an end. And the other thing that I should chime in is that when you're done with the 3 minutes, the rule that she has for this game is there is no chiming in. So the other person is not allowed to respond. They're not supposed to say anything, and you're supposed to just go back to normal. So the point behind that is, she said that sometimes when people, really she's talking about men, but women I'm sure have this reaction too sometimes, but she's found that commonly when men are presented with all of their, their wives' feelings, or any criticisms that they have, or things that they like changed, or whatever, however you want to word that, that they often feel pressure to respond. Like they'll feel like this pressure, like, what do I have to say back? And it's too much pressure for multiple reasons. A lot of guys don't like that pressure on the spot, and then they have to like think of words, and they may not even feel like the right words are representative of what they really feel. And then the second reason is for that last sentence so that they can have time to really sit and think and process what they feel. And honestly, sometimes the person may not want to respond. They may just want to start making some changes. And that's part of the thing too, is like talk is kind of cheap, like depending on the situation. And so the person may feel embarrassed and they may not want to say anything back. They might just want to hear it and be like, okay, let's just move on and I want to change this. And they want to show you. Or they may want to respond back, in which case they have a full 24 hours to think about it, process it, and then come to you during the next 3 minutes. I just found like there were a lot of really positive things. There are a lot of really positive things that come out of 3 minutes for us, that cadence of like back and forth every day. Like today's Dan day is tomorrow my day. Today's Dan day, like back and forth. I'm not wording that well, but I think you get my gist. So yeah. Someone asked me which trace minerals that I use, and I'm going to have the image right here, but they're just called trace minerals, I think. So I will also have the link down below in the info box if you want to check that out, and it will probably be an affiliates link. So anytime you ever purchase anything through my links or use any of my discount codes, it means a lot to me because not only, it's cool that you guys get a discount, but usually if I have a discount code, I also get a commission from the purchase. So just know that like it all means a lot to me. Okay, someone asked, have you ever had an atheist phase or considered atheism? And my answer to that is no. The closest I've had to that was an agnostic. I wouldn't even call it an agnostic phase. It was a phase of feeling like, I don't really know, like that feeling. And to be honest, there's still that thread in my personality anyways. Like you guys all know that in my heart and what I feel like is true and what has impacted me the most is Jesus and Christianity and the concept of there definitely being a creator. Like that's what resonates with me. But I always have this like hint through all my stuff of like, but I don't know. Like, who knows? We'll find out when we die. But I've definitely not had an atheist phase because every time I think about that, the idea of there being no God, not only does it not make sense to me that complete chaos could have come together to create so much perfectly working, intricately made details and like pieces of art like everywhere in nature and people. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me that everything came together perfectly from a bang. Nope, not buying it. And it also feels very dark too. It's just not resonated with me. So, that is my answer. Okay, someone asked, do you think Jesus will be returning soon? This world is so crazy at this time. I don't know. I am going to be really honest. I have like the most shallow eschatology on the planet. Eschatology just means like the study of the end of times, if anyone was wondering what the fancy word is. It's like the theology of end times studies in the Bible, if that's how we want to word it. And I legitimately don't know what I believe. Like I don't even have like a vague opinion, honestly, on end time stuff. Like my whole life, I've pretty much been around this idea of like, Jesus is coming, we will be raptured. But I've realized there's like 3 different views, main interpretations. And it stinks because I think that like eschatology dramatically influences someone's theology, but it kind of stinks because both Dan and I are like, yeah, we don't really have an opinion on that. So we'll see. It's not like we're not learning, we're not investigating, we're not continuing to, just learn and find out more. But as of right now, we don't really have an opinion. But I will say I won't be surprised if Jesus comes soon. Like, things are crazy. But I've also always simultaneously held the belief that life has always been crazy. Like, I think throughout history, there have been like many times where people have been convinced that Jesus is coming back. And I know that things are different right now. Obviously, the internet has changed everything. And I think with all the AI stuff, we're going through another dramatic change. I have a friend who thinks that this is going to be like as big of a revolution as like the microchip revolution. Actually, she's not, well, she's kind of a friend. Do you guys know Patriot Nurse here on YouTube? She's great. If you're ever looking for like conservative, patriotic content, and she obviously was a nurse for a long time, so that's very interesting. But she was talking about that. We're like e-friends, and she mentioned that in one of her videos. And that's exactly, I do think that the times are very different and crazy, but I also think people have thought things have been crazy for forever. So I don't know. I'm trying to just keep learning, keep trying to become a better homemaker, develop more skills in general, not only with homemaking, but in my artistic endeavors. I want more children. I'm focusing on homeschooling. And, so it's not like I'm burying my head in the sand, but there is a little bit of me that's just like, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Someone asked if I missed the pre-canceled version of my life and if it was easier. And the short answer is, yes, it was easier in some ways, because at that point we had been making videos for almost 10 years. Yeah, 10 years at that point. I've been making videos now, I think, for 12. And so obviously 10 years of investing into something, we had really built it up and built our business model in a sense that you guys know we had 4 employees prior to all of this happening. So we had a thing going, and it just turned out that, between the mob on the internet and who the people were that were employing me, that whole business model just came crashing down. Even though this is still an income for us and it's still my full-time job, it's not the same situation as before. So in that sense, it was easier. But in other ways, I don't miss it because I've been able to be more open and honest since everything happened, obviously. And also now we're in the process of restructuring our business. And so that's kind of exciting because I don't think we would have done this if that hadn't happened. And the restructurization, I don't think that's a word, but we're gonna roll with it, of our business, as well as Dan building his own separate business now, off the internet, or separate from this part of the internet, that's a better way to put it, is very exciting and totally what we needed to do years ago. But I do miss people not hating on me all the time. I miss people not threatening my life all the time. I miss certain friends being able to just look past our differences and just enjoy each other. That's unfortunate. I, by nature, don't like people disliking me. And God has really stretched me a lot in the last couple years and made me realize dude, being liked, what's that phrase? You could be the sweetest peach and someone still doesn't like peaches, whatever. It's just a part of life. And he's shown me this in a whole new way and a whole new level. People are just not going to like you. They're going to misconstrue your intentions and they are going to believe it with every ounce in every fiber of their body. They're going to believe that they're right. And I can't do anything to change their mind. But that has probably been the hardest thing to process through all of it, is just the people that vocally dislike me and are willing to go out of their way to show up on my things and tell me how much they dislike me. Okay, someone says, knowing what you know now, would you have done anything different with your home birth? And pretty much the answer is no. I guess what I would have done different is, running into things. I would have filled up our birth tub sooner because I didn't actually get to birth in our birth tub. I birthed in my bathtub. Dan thinks that ended up being better because they were able to easily drain water and fill it back up. So everything did not get so cloudy and gross from all of my, placenta and poop and whatever blood. But I don't agree with that because I essentially did not actually get to be in water because of my tub. Now, that might have been a safety thing because my midwife was draining a lot of the water to try to see certain things. So it's maybe she would have moved me out of it. I don't know. But I wish I had been more submerged in water. I think that would have helped with my pain. Then again, I labored alone in the middle of the night from 1 a.m. till 5 a.m. in water. And I definitely knew I was in labor. I was in pain. So I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't have stopped the pain. But overall, I look back on my birth as a dream birth. I seriously see it through these major rose-colored glasses, but in a good way. I'm not repainting a bad story in a positive way. It was literally just amazing. I did not incur any trauma from that. And I'm very grateful because I have a lot of friends who have had traumatic births. And yeah, I'm just grateful to God for the birth, or for the gift of my birth and of my son. I will say, actually, no, it's coming back to me. Thoughts are coming to me as I'm sitting here just blabbering. Another thing that I would change in the future, if and when, God willing, we get to have another baby, I think I'm going to do even less interventions. There's certain tests I don't think I'm going to do. I want it to be even more low intervention if possible. I've mentioned this before. That's not the birth though. So now I'm kind of sidetracking. I was going to mention I did not like the diabetes drink. Won't be doing that, but that doesn't really have to do with my home births. So, okay, someone said, my husband and I got the jab. Any recommendations to unjab yourself? So, man, unfortunately, and I don't know, where you guys are paying attention to things, because depending on what side of media you watch, I assume most of you are kind of watching right wing or like center kind of media. And they've talked about this a bit. You're probably not going to hear about this at all if you are watching media that's only on the left side of the spectrum, because for some reason, people that are really like dedicated to the narrative and the idea of this overarching science God cannot and will not and refuse to look at the issues that anti-jabbers have had an issue with over the last couple of years in regards to this jab. And people like me really believe that it's causing a lot of complications. The main thing has been heart issues, obviously, that like everyone in our side of the camp has been talking about since the beginning. Basically because everything that's happening now, even though people on the left side of the political spectrum are saying it has to do with long COVID, people in my camp believe it actually has to do with the jab. To my knowledge, a lot of these heart issues also showed up in animals when they were tested with mRNA jabs. So that's kind of where, a lot of us stand. That being said, I've actually given this recommendation to people on my Patreon before. There are protocols that people are implementing to try to almost like detox yourself from the jab. Now, I feel a little Debbie Downer about that. I'm not going to lie, because depending on which one you got, if you got an mRNA vax, I don't quite know how you could fully detox that, but also I'm not a doctor, and people are saying that you really can treat your body a certain way afterwards to hopefully minimize the effects. Now, I will also say from everything that I'm seeing, there's a big difference between one jab versus like 2, 3, 4 jabs. And apparently a lot of the people that are actually having issues are people that have had 2, 3, 4 boosters. So it really seems to have like a compounding effect is what I'm understanding. Anyways, to your question, if you go to thehighwire.com, I believe that they have a whole tab on their site dedicated to what to do to essentially detox or fight these adverse reactions in your body. And I will go ahead and link down below, check the info box. Remind me if I don't link this, but my mom gave me a special like a link to a website that I've shared with a couple of people with very specific protocols. So I will remember, and if I don't, tell me, because then I'll link it, to link the protocols in the info box down below, because there are things that people are doing to care for themselves. I hope you're doing okay. I hope that you just are wanting to cleanse yourself, that you didn't actually have any adverse health reactions. So yeah. Ooh, okay, we're gonna end the video this way. This is gonna be an annoying ending. You're gonna be like, yeah. That's what everybody would say about themselves. But Kelly asked me, is there anything you wish others knew / understood about you? And it's hard, because the things that are coming to my mind are things that I think some other people do know about me, including some of you guys. I think some of you guys know about like the things I'm thinking of. And then some people are just going to think the opposite, right? Like what I was saying before, but the question was about me and myself. So I'm going to translate those thoughts. First thing, this is totally random, and then the second one I feel like is going to be the annoying one that kind of circles back to the beginning of the video. And the first one was that even though I'm very outgoing and I'm very energized by people and I'm like eternally fascinated by them, which is like the sole reason I watch so many different types of channels on YouTube, from like the far leftists to the far right wingers, because I find people and like their logic fascinating, and I find people's stories and backgrounds and cultural heritages fascinating. And yeah, so I'm outgoing, I get a lot of energy from people, but I also get very insecure around people, and I really need time to recharge. So even though I can go out and I can talk to groups, like almost any group, I'll just like immerse myself in, and I just find people fascinating, so I just talk to them. And it is really fun and really life-giving, but I also run out of energy, and I like desperately need to be home alone. And because I love consuming content so much, I'm like a book nerd basically. I really like being at home, just like learning and listening to things. So that's the first thing. Like I get really, like, I guess to partner with that, which is the words I didn't really say, like, even though I love being around people, I have throughout a large chunk of my life, I've seriously battled social anxiety, like on my way to an event, freaking out because I'm just like, I don't know. I don't even know what it is. Like, I want to go home. Like, people, like, I just don't know what I'm going to say, or I'm tired, or I just get like freaked out. And it's been better at different phases of my life, like different times, but that's something I've battled on and off. And I know Dan was always super surprised in the beginning because he's just like, you're so like, you love people and you're really outgoing. Like, why are you nervous? So yeah, Dan always found that really surprising. But, and this is where it kind of loops back to the beginning, I think some of my social anxiety came from my childhood. I think lots of people's wounds and emotional baggage can come from their childhood, right? Experiences that build on top of each other. And I was bullied a lot when I was a kid. Like, we're talking like movie status, food thrown at me, like locked in bathrooms. I have some pretty crazy stories. I think that that's part of it. And part of what goes hand in hand with that, and part of what made it so hurtful, is I always felt like I was like a movie character, like so excited to be around people and interested in them, and I cared about them, and I never had malicious thoughts towards people. And then things would be turned on me in a way that was so cruel and bullying. Like I said, being locked in a bathroom, having food thrown at me, just different things like that are obviously long stories that were like really shocking and painful because nobody knows what's in your mind, obviously, but you. But I just have always been so, I think, weird and social and like in people's face and talking to everyone that I think I rub some people the wrong way. And that's the second half of that thought, by the way, in terms of like things I wish other people knew or understood about me. And this is kind of what I was going to say about you guys. I think some of you do know and understand this, is that like, and how do I say this? Because both thoughts need to go hand in hand. I'm just going to spit out the first thought and then I'll give the disclaimer, the second thought. I'm a nice person. Now, not really in the sense that like, I believe that everyone is a sinner. Like, I truly believe that. I think that we all are capable of not good things. And we're all ultimately very selfish and innately looking out for ourselves first. So I have to give that disclaimer in the sense that like, I'm not sitting here being like, guys, I'm such a good person. Like, that's not the situation. But what is the situation is that like, I've like never had anything in my life where I've like gone out of my way to attack someone or say something mean to someone or bully someone or like manipulate the situation. I just don't like saying mean things about people even. That's, I guess, a good way to put it, is that like what I present as, which some people I think find me like overly sweet to like an annoying degree or a fake degree. That's really just me. Like, that's really how I am. Like, my energy changes throughout the day. Sometimes I'm more hyped and sometimes I'm more chill. I'm interested in people. I care about people. I care about their stories. Even the people who it's become apparent to me over the last few years that they hate me, that they want to kill me. Part of what I find really odd about that is that I still like them. You know, like, it's weird. I stumbled on this girl's commentary channel. I actually filmed a whole video about this. And I haven't even looked at it yet because I don't know if I'm going to edit it and use it. Like, it may have just been like a personal diary type thing. But it was a video where I was doing commentary on commentary channels because I find commentary, aka gossip channels, to be like fascinating. And anyways, I talked about in that video that I had stumbled across this girl's YouTube channel, and she made a really fascinating video essay about poop, which I know sounds really weird. But I was watching a few of her videos, and she's obviously like a leftist in terms of, you know, her politics. But I liked her stuff, and I left a comment actually complimenting her, I think. I don't remember which comment I left first. It was like one of her videos I really liked. And then in another video, she said she got made fun of for wearing wigs. And I was like, I didn't even know you wore a wig. Like, your hair looks beautiful. Like, it's very natural looking. And then I started getting comments back from people that she had actually made a video about me. Now, it wasn't actually about the Bowser situation, to my knowledge. It was about our adoption journey, which is another thing where it's like, man, I was very vulnerable because I wanted to be open through the process. I've been very open through the years about my chronic pain and different injuries I've dealt with. Being open now, like we're not even trying to conceive a baby yet because I'm just like, oh my gosh, my knee needs to get stronger and better. Anyways, it turned out she had made a video about me. And it was just that feeling again, like a little kid in school that's just like, oh, I liked you. And she has every right to make commentary. And I talked about this in the video that I ended up finding out that the whole reason I think she made the video is because she's very personally attached to the process of fostering and adoption because she grew up in foster homes. So she's obviously got a very strong opinion. But it's so wild because it's like I've realized, similar to the Bowser journey through the last 2 years, that people see things through the lens they want to see it through. They misinterpret things. Like sometimes things that I've said get completely it's like twisted. I'm like, I didn't even say that. Or sometimes people will take things and it's like, I did say that, but you're leaving out this really important detail that makes that sentence sound less bratty. Like, you're leaving out the important part. And that sucks because, like I said, only you're in your brain and only you know your intentions. But I do know my intentions, and I know my husband's intentions. And he's known me for, dude, how old am I now? 17 years. And so I'm really grateful to have someone that knows me that well to walk through all of this. So when people are shooting lies at me, it's like, he knows who I am, and it's very reassuring. So is it lame to be like, the thing I wish people knew about me, that I'm a nice person? That is lame. But it was actually with the other thing too, that I get actually kind of tired from social events because I'm like so invested, and then I come home and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta just stay home for a minute. Ooh, actually, just kidding. I'm gonna answer this question because you're about to give birth, Jenna, and you asked me this question, and I don't want it to be on Patreon, and I don't want to not answer it. You may not even see this. Any tips for easing nerves around giving birth? I'm due in a week and a half. Here are my tips for you. Listen to, if you haven't already given birth, I guess anyone else, listen to every positive birth story you possibly can. You want to saturate your brain in narratives that are showing, like stories that are showing birth in a positive, happy outcome, natural birth. Now, I will say, that being said, I know some natural birthers who never had, I don't even know if you're natural birthing. You might not be, but this is the way my thoughts are going. I know some natural birthers who never looked at any of the stuff that could go wrong. I was not like that. I fully got my head around like, okay, what if I have to go to the hospital? What if I have to have a C-section? Because I didn't want to be facing them for the first time when I was giving birth, if God forbid that's the way it went, like, you know, against my plan, opposite of my plan. So you do want to know what possibilities are, but in general, I'd say it's like 90% of your energy should be used to saturate your brain in positive birth stories. And I truly think that paired with like physical self-care and soothing type activities like, you know, Epsom salt baths and taking naps and getting in coconut water and things that like are physically good for nerves, maybe increasing your vitamin B intake as long as you're taking like an appropriate vitamin B for you. That's very good for nerves. But truly, birth stories, positive birth stories, I think are the best thing you can do to support your mind, your soul, your spirit, your body through this process of bringing a new soul into the world. That's so exciting. So you'll have to let me know if you see this, if you already had your baby or if you're almost due. But yeah. So I'm going to go now, guys. I will see those of you that are on my Patreon over on my Patreon for part 2. And I will see the rest of you, God willing, back here very soon with another new video. I appreciate you guys more than you know. And if you're having a hard time right now in life, I used to say this at the end of videos sometimes, and I just want to say it again. I want to encourage you to keep swimming. Don't give up. Just keep swimming. And you really never know when or how fast your life could turn around, and the things that you're struggling with. Just keep on swimming, sister. So, all right. Oh, please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and feel free to leave a comment down below, even if it's just like, hey, Nikki, because every comment really helps to support my channel, like in the algorithm here on YouTube. So, all right, that's it. Bye, guys.